School Board meeting for August 9, 2016 is now in session. Pam, roll call, please.
Mr. Craig?
Present.
Mrs. Belford?
Present.
Mrs. Nisi?
Here.
Mrs. Henderson?
Here.
And Mr. Ziegler.
Present. Michelle Irwin, Director of Community Relations, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Irwin.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we go any further, I'd like to offer my fellow board members the opportunity to recognize any staff, students, or community members. Mr. Craig, why don't you start us off?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Two real quick things. Last week, I was fortunate enough to attend the Cocoa Beach IB International Baccalaureate graduation ceremony, and the new principal at Cocoa Beach, Dr. Carol Green, was running that. But just watching and hearing what those students have accomplished over the years and getting that IB diploma is truly worth celebrating. Dr. Blackburn was there, gave him some great words of encouragement as well. So I appreciate being able to go to that, and I congratulate both the IB students there and at Mel High as well, because that's quite an accomplishment. Also, last night, I was able to attend the Exemplary Science Teacher Award ceremony at the Planetarium in Eastern Florida. Dr. Mullins gave a great keynote speech. Nice work, Dr. Mullins. But I really wanted to congratulate all the teachers that were recognized last night. And Ed Short, in charge, heading up our science department, provides some great leadership, a lot of laughs as well. But I wanted to give a shout out to Ed and thank him for his leadership. The science curriculum and accomplishments of the Brevard County schools are leading the pack as always in the state of Florida, and it's because of people like Ed and our science teachers that were recognized last night from a variety of different schools, and the ones that are in the Science Teacher Hall of Fame hanging outside, and all of the science teachers take advantage of the great opportunities that are in this district, but also devise some really unique curriculum activities to make sure that our kids are being challenged every day, and I thank them for that.
Ms. Belford?
Two quick things for me. One, I would just like to say thank you to all of our faculty and staff that have been working so diligently to be prepared for the opening of school tomorrow. I know they have all been working frantically to make sure that everything goes smoothly tomorrow, and thank them for their commitment and all the work that they're going to do this year, the great work they'll do. And then secondly, a huge thank you to our administrators at the school level. I have heard more positive feedback about pre-planning activities this year than I think I have ever heard, and it certainly has taken an enormous amount of commitment, creativity, and thinking outside the box for those administrators to create those meaningful experiences. So many thanks to them.
Mrs. Nisi?
Mrs. Belford took some of that away, but there's a lot of people that help get school ready that you don't think about. When I was out there in schools, principals were commenting that they're, the people that you don't think about that are out there making sure that the grass is mowed and making sure that deliveries are made. I was at one school where they were taking out the old cafeteria equipment, the tables and chairs, and making sure the new ones were in and they were set up. And everyone was just so friendly about it. One in particular I'd like to recognize is Darren Bolton back in printing services today. Everybody wants something printed and done tomorrow, and I called him at 11:30 today to see what he could do to help out a school that needed planners, that didn't have them. And he was just so happy when he answered the phone, and just, you would think he would be the day before just really stressed and just was happy to help, and not only was happy to get the order done, but called me an hour later and told me he'd be able to get them done ahead of time. And Dr. Blackburn, everyone has just been friendly and excited to see tomorrow, and I just want to thank everyone from the teachers to the support staff to the bus drivers to the people that are out there mowing the grass, that I think tomorrow is going to be a great start.
Okay, Mrs. Henderson, since you have a presentation, I'm going to be real short, and then we'll let you wrap it up. Shout out to all of the staff at the schools that are registering right now. I've heard a tremendous number of stories about the challenges that are presented by some parents who don't know what they're doing, where they're going, why they're doing what. And what I like that I heard from everybody that has these challenges is that they own them. They don't dismiss anybody. They make sure that these parents and these kids are taken care of no matter what mistake was made on anybody's part. They make sure they are there to see them through correct registration. And it's just a great attitude that's permeating through the district. I'd like to thank Jeff Arnott from Adult Ed for inviting me out to his symposium a couple days ago and learning more about, we all know we have all these different departments, but until you go to one of these events and you talk to all the teachers and you find out what they do, it's really amazing how in-depth the Adult Ed program is. And also last night, unfortunately missed the teachers event at the planetarium, first one in 8 years that I missed. But I was at Space Coast League of Cities with Dr. Blackburn, who just did a stellar job as the speaker for the Space Coast League of Cities. I've got so many compliments on that speech where again, we're reiterating to our community, and Dr. Blackburn did a good job, that we want to be great partners with all aspects of our community, which is resonating real well with all of our community leaders. So thank you for doing a great job on that. And with that, Mrs. Henderson has a presentation. Take it away.
Yes, well, first, before I get to the presentation, I do want to say, kind of follow up on what Mrs. Belford and Mrs. Nisi said about the teachers and the commitment of all the employees. Our bus drivers have already been out there taking their routes and making sure that they're all good. The custodians have been there making sure that our schools are all clean. Our maintenance workers are putting in the last light bulbs. So everybody's been working as a team, as we should. But in addition, our students, many of our students have already been at school. I was able to watch the Viera High School band do their performance on Friday. So for the last 2.5 weeks, they have spent from 12 noon till 9 p.m. every day working on their performances. And this has been happening at all of our high schools. And so not only do our teachers have the commitment, but our students have a commitment that show us how much they actually appreciate some of the things that we have in our schools. So, and now, go turn it on, or maybe, oh, there, she's going to turn it on. I have a little presentation. I went to Harbor City yesterday. Hang on just a second. And the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades has what's called the Patch Foundation. And it is Painters and Allied Trades for Children's Hope. And what they have done is they have collected items. They chose 4 schools in the United States. One of the schools that they chose was Harbor City. So we are one of 4 schools in the United States that got chosen. For every single student received all of their school supplies for the entire year and backpacks. And it was an amazing thing to see, so take it away. Thank you to Rachel Hoke for putting that together for us. She was there yesterday and was able to take some pictures. And I don't know, Ms. Greco, did you want to say a few words about your program? Okay. But our Local 1010 is pretty much all of the employees who are not teachers or administrators. So they're the maintenance, the bus drivers, the custodians, the clerks, the teacher's aide, the library assistants, and this is their union that helped put it together, and maybe you could tell us how Harbor City was selected.
Well, I was actually rather surprised. I received a call back in February that there was a possibility that they would choose a school from Brevard County. And they wanted me to choose a school that met the criteria as far as number of students, the need, free and reduced lunch percentages. And I started looking, well, that was the worst part, trying to decide which school, you know, I would submit. So I did my research. Those of you who know me know I do my research. And I came up with Harbor City. I submitted it and really just kind of forgot about it. And I received a call saying that Harbor City was selected. I was absolutely overwhelmed. So we started the project, and it was really, really intense. Supplies were coming in the office. We were unloading them, sorting. It was just incredible. And I would like to thank 3 of my ladies are here tonight, Patty Orlando, Christine Chandler-Bobo, and Kelsey Lawson. We had at least probably a dozen others, but these 3 I could really count on. Also Jim and Dolores Varney. Jim was there with me every day, 10 to 12 hours. When it come time to deliver the materials, we delivered them on Friday. And everyone at the school was there to help us arrange them, unload the trucks. It was just incredible. And because an excess of supplies were sent, obviously, we don't have teachers or someone like that ordering the supplies. So when the supply list said 1 box of pencil cap erasers, well, to our department that ordered, 1 box was 12 dozen. So we decided that maybe we better not pack the book bags as we had planned. So I talked to Ms. Salamone. We decided that we would bring the materials down to the school and the book bags empty. So Friday when we got there and got everything unloaded and sorted, we had put everything back on pallets and wrapped them and by grade level. So when we got to the school, we got everything unloaded and sorted, and then Principal Salamone called the teachers in. And I don't know who was more surprised at the supplies, the teachers or the students. It was almost like they hadn't really developed a supply list. It was kind of like a wish list. And when they started looking into the boxes and seeing binders and Crayola crayons and Crayola, colored pencils. I mean, I was absolutely amazed because everything was name brand. It was top of the line. It was wonderful. So they couldn't believe it, and I was so happy for them. And then all the book bags were done yesterday. I don't know, this last couple weeks is horrible. Yesterday, the students started coming in with their parents. And I was really taken back. The need there was so great. And I had so many parents come up to me with tears in their eyes, saying, thank you. I didn't know how I was going to buy my child's school supplies. So this year, with all of the students in transition, everyone will be starting out the same. Everyone will have the same backpacks. Everyone will have it stocked with the same supplies. And the teachers took all of the extra things and put them in their room. So we hope that they can go quite a few months into the school year using those supplies. I really think it's something that we should get out into the community, maybe challenge BFT to do the same. I mean, it is the most rewarding project that I've been involved in the 17 years I've been employed at the union. So It was certainly our pleasure to do it, and I doubt if I can get selected again next year, but I'm sure going to try. So thank you very much.
And I was there yesterday for about 3.5 hours, and I got to tell you, it was very emotional for some of those parents. And the teachers were thrilled, and all the 1010 workers were there helping. And so from the board, we thank you all very much. Harbor City, I know, thanks you, and the community at large. Thanks you very much for giving back to our community.
Thank you. Great news. Anybody else? I think that's good. That brings us to the adoption of the agenda. Dr. Blackburn?
Mr. Ziegler and members of the board, on tonight's agenda, we have administrative staff recommendations, 1 recognition, 15 consent items, 2 action items, and 2 information items, as well as a staff report. You also have the yellow supplemental agenda, which are changes made to the agenda since being released to the public. There are revisions to item A5 on administrative staff recommendations, and in addition to the consent agenda, item F17 on school improvement grant, intent to apply. A staff report was also added to provide the board with an update on our shelter plan.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve?
Second?
Moved by Mrs. Nisi, second by Mrs. Henderson. Any discussion? Not hearing any, please vote. Yeah, John, you get your vote in? Nice. Voice vote, all in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, passes 5-0. Okay, Dr. Blackburn, let's move on to administrative staff recommendations.
Under item A5, you have 5 administrative staff recommendations to consider.
What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve?
Second?
Moved by Mrs. Nisi, second by Mrs. Henderson. Any discussion? Let's try again. Let's vote. There we go, 5-0. It's nice when technology works. That's what everybody says when you comment, you'll jinx it. Dr. Blackburn.
Yes, sir. Mr. Ziegler and members of the board, before we go further, I would like to take this opportunity to recognize the administrative staff members present here this evening. We will begin with those staff members who were approved at the July 19 board meeting. So congratulations to Mira Trine on her reclassification and transfer from the position of 12-month assistant principal at Jackson Middle School to the position of principal at Tropical Elementary.
Thank you, Dr. Blackburn and members of the board. I would just like to say that I am honored to have this opportunity, and Tropical is an amazing school, so I really feel I've had the opportunity this week to get to know the teachers and the staff, and it's truly an amazing school, and I thank you so much for that opportunity. I have to also say thank you to my family who is here, my husband who is so supportive, and my 2 little ones here tonight. And I would also like to say thank you to my previous principal, Mrs. Anitha Jones, who is also here, and all of those principal mentors that I've had over the years that have really helped me get to this point. I wouldn't be here without them. So thank you so much.
Congratulations to Michael Guevara on his reclassification and transfer from the position of 10-month assistant principal at Stone Middle School to the position of 10-month assistant principal at Palm Bay Magnet High School.
Thank you very much, Dr. Blackburn and board members. I would like to thank my wife, Leslie Guevara, for her love and support. She's also a teacher at University Park. I'd like to thank Mr. Kaminsky for hiring me at Palm Bay High School and allowing me to continue to service my same students that I had at Riviera, had at Stone. I'll be able to see them graduate at Palm Bay. Ms. Mary Bland, Ms. Linda Piccolella. Also like to thank Ms. Janae Campbell and Mr. Andrew Johnson for the professionalism and knowledge. Ms. Lena Whitebelt for her mentorship and support. And la señora Ana Díaz, que sin su apoyo no puedo hacer nada. Gracias.
Also, congratulations to Eric Lindy on his reclassification and transfer from the position of teacher on assignment at Edgewood Junior Senior High School to the position of 10-month assistant principal at Hoover Middle School.
Thank you, Dr. Blackburn and the board. I'd like to thank my family for their love and support, my wife Angie and my 3 children, Kira, Mackenzie, and Jackson. I'd like to have a special thank you to Dr. Reinhardt, Ms. DJ Cornell, Ms. Sherry Bowman for their tutelage and support. I would like to thank my Edgewood family, teachers, staff, especially Ms. Sangrata, Ms. Melissa Hall, and Pete Trinifka for their support. I'd like to thank Ms. Weibelt for giving me the great opportunity to become a Hoover Hawk. And I would like to thank Dr. Ken Wynn for his support in mentoring me the last few years.
Congratulations to Todd Rassman on his reclassification and transfer from the position of instructional coach at Madison Middle School to the position of 10-month assistant principal at Melbourne High School.
Thank you, Dr. Blackburn and the school board for giving me this opportunity. I would like to thank some key people for increasing my capacity and preparing me for this position. Dr. Reinhardt, Barbara Rodriguez, Jim Hickey, Principal Chad Kirk, who I worked under at Central Middle School and now has given me the opportunity at Melbourne High School, Principal Sherry Tomlinson, who taught me the power of we and that building relationships is the key to a high-performing learning culture, Kim Bragg, Lauren Kirschensteiner, Peggy Yelverton, who was my alternative certification teacher and a friend, Mrs. Antela, who was my English teacher at a small Sandstone, Minnesota school. My parents, who fought for me in 4th grade, as I had a learning disability, I had a reading disability, and they didn't have any program to support students. They fought and got a program started, and it's still in place today. All of the other people that have helped me, but most importantly, the 3 people that have supported me and sacrificed in this whole journey, my wife, Shannon, my son, Zachary, and my daughter, Kylie. Thank you.
Congratulations to Matthew Tucker on his reclassification and transfer from guidance service professional at Astronaut High School to the position of 10-month assistant principal at Cocoa Beach Junior Senior High School.
Thank you, Dr. Blackburn and board members. I'd like to say thank you, first and foremost, to my parents, to my mom, who's been a teacher for 44 years, 30 in Brevard. Obviously, having her as a teacher at one point in high school obviously shaped a lot of my beliefs and values in the education system. I'd like to thank my wife, Kelly, who cannot be here tonight. She had to go get the kids. Obviously, and everybody that has had an impact on my career, my journey along the way. My former principal, Krista Miller, principal Astronaut, Mr. Terry Humphrey before that, and all my administrators that allowed me to open arms, Ms. Vicki Hickey, that's now at Rockledge, allowed me to come in anytime, pick their brain, shadow them, and especially now, Dr. Green, I'm sure I'll be asking her and nagging her on a daily basis for new information. So thank you very much.
Now, please help me in recognizing the administrators who were on tonight's agenda for approval. First, congratulations to Maggie Rassel on her appointment as the new principal of Challenger 7 Elementary School.
Thank you, Dr. Blackburn and the school board. Thank you for this great opportunity, and I am really looking forward to getting to know the staff and the teachers and the community. I want to thank my family who could not be here tonight, but my mom and my 2 kids, especially my daughter Isabel, as she goes off to college. She's starting a new chapter in her life, and I am now starting a new chapter in my life. So I'm really excited and looking forward to this great opportunity. And I would also like to thank a great mentor that I've had throughout my whole career since I started, and now I am fortunate enough to be working close to her again, and that is Dr. Carol Kent. Thank you for all your great support and always being my cheerleader. So I look forward to becoming a part of the community. Thank you.
Next, we congratulate Jennifer Shockley on her reclassification and transfer from the position of Guidance Service Professional at Delora Middle School to the position of 12-month Assistant Principal at Jackson Middle School.
Thank you, Dr. Blackburn. Thank you, school board members. I'm very looking forward to the new challenge as I move on. I'd like to thank Ms. Jones for taking a chance on me and letting me come work with her, and I'm looking forward to getting to know the Jackson community. Tomorrow we'll hit the ground running. I'd like to thank all those administrators that I've been very fortunate to work with over my 23 years here in Brevard County, and they've showed me lots of fabulous things, and I hope to be able to incorporate them at Jackson. Thanks.
Congratulations to Jennifer Dames on her reclassification and transfer from the position of Math and Science Coach at Coquina Elementary to the position of 10-month Assistant Principal at Jackson Middle School.
Dr. Blackburn and board, I would like to thank you for this amazing opportunity, as well as Mrs. Jones, to join the team at Jackson Middle School. I am very excited for this opportunity. I would be remiss if I did not first thank the Lord for blessing me and showering so many blessings upon me. I thank all of those mentors who have helped me along the way, people like Mr. Wilson, and especially Mrs. Katrina Hudson, who has taught me and prepared me, and I am ready to hit the ground running with Jackson Middle School. I would also like to acknowledge and thank my husband, Pastor Dames, who is my biggest supporter and cheerleader, our 2 children, Jalen and Trey, and with me tonight, I am honored to have my church family, St. James AME Church, my sorors of the Iota Pi Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, ladies of Jack and Jill. I am just so pleased and so thankful, so humbled for this opportunity. Mrs. Jones, you can rest assured that I will serve you and the students at Jacksonville with excellence.
And last, but certainly not least, congratulations to Shannon Sejak on her reclassification from the position of Guidance Service Professional at Stone Middle School to the position of 10-month Assistant Principal at Stone Middle School.
Thank you, Dr. Blackburn and the school board members. I want to just say I'm very excited and grateful for this opportunity to work at Stone Magnet Middle School and the opportunity that Miss Mary Bland presented to me. And I want to say thank you to my wife, Elizabeth, and my 2 children, Amara and Tristan. And I'm very excited to get started.
Okay, Dr. Blackburn, ready to begin the recognition portion of this evening's meeting.
Item B6 is to recognize Andretti Thrill Park. 5 years ago, Andretti Thrill Park and Brevard Schools Foundation formed a unique partnership when Andretti Thrill Park created discount fun cards as a vehicle for contributing to Brevard schools. Each time a student or staff member uses their card to purchase special admissions at Andretti Thrill Park, $2 is returned to Brevard Schools Foundation as a donation. This program quickly became a big success, and the foundation and Andretti Thrill Park are pleased to announce that the program has reached a major milestone. We have with us tonight from Andretti Thrill Park, Eddie Hammond, Managing Member, and Melanie Cardona, Sales and Marketing Manager, along with Brevard Schools Foundation President Janice Kershaw, to celebrate their accomplishment. I'd like to invite Janice to tell us about this milestone.
Thank you, Dr. Blackburn and members of the board. Andretti Thrill Park brings safe and affordable fun to our students. And when Mr. Hammond first approached me with the idea of creating an affinity program, we had no idea how successful it would become and how quickly $2 can add up and grow. This partnership has been a model of community participation in our schools and a real win-win relationship for education. Eddie will tell you there's still tremendous potential for an even larger donation, and we hope he's right. But just with the fun cards that students have used thus far, Andretti has now donated back a cumulative total of, drum roll please, $75,000. I have a certificate for Eddie, which I'll give you that. Thank you. Eddie has generously allowed us to use these funds in the areas of our greatest need. They've helped the foundation build capacity to serve our students, teachers, and schools in very meaningful ways. Donations like this have helped the foundation become third in the nation for supporting public education, and here are just a few ways that we've helped meet the district's needs with his funds. In the past 5 years, 99% of low-income students in our Take Stock in Children program have graduated, compared to the Florida average of 70% for low-income students. Over the last 2 years, we've increased by 15% the number of students who benefited from having an innovative project in their classroom because of their teacher receiving a Bright Ideas Classroom grant. And we opened a tremendous new school supply resource with the Supply Zone for Teachers, and after only our second year of operation, we've distributed free school supplies to 71% of eligible teachers compared to 60% of teachers our first year. And that's 11% growth year over year. In fact, we will soon be topping $1 million in free school supplies distributed to those with the greatest need. And on July 30th, as Andy Ziegler and Karen Henderson found out as they visited our backpack giveaway, we gave out over 1,700 backpacks to students in need at the Supply Zone. And none of this is possible without the generosity of people like Eddie Hammond, who recognize that our challenges to education can only be overcome when businesses and individuals take that step to do something positive, to do their part, in this case, $2 at a time. So tonight we say a very heartfelt thank you to Andretti Thrill Park and Eddie Hammond for his vision in bringing these resources to our district, and to Melanie for help coordinating all this. I'd like to now invite Eddie to say a few words.
Good evening. Appreciate the opportunity here tonight, and thank you for the recognition. Andy and I have known each other for about 18 years now, and it was with him that this project was born. A face value of $75,000 is a lot of money in any standards, but I must tell you that that money does a lot more to me than it does to you. Andretti Thrill Park, which, by the way, if you don't know what it is, it's a family entertainment center that's been in this town for 17 years. Has a function, family entertainment. And until Andy and I sat down and looked at this program, that became a purpose. And our business grew tremendously. So to me, that check that I write every month, I do it happily. Because in many ways, it's a seed that I plant. And it's an easy seed to plant because Janice does a great job. I don't really watch where the money goes because you guys are class act, the entire organization, the entire school system. I've been to many schools, helping here, helping there, and everybody does such a great job. So to us, as a business, and if you are there and you're watching by TV or you're here tonight, you have a business, you need to transfer or transition from a business that has a function, because all businesses do have a function, to a business that has a purpose. And you'll see not only your business will grow, your life will be rewarded, your employees will have an amazing pride on what they do. You can ask Melanie about that. She's now preparing those cards for the kids that are going to get here in the next couple of weeks. And so as we move forward, we think of new ways. And I'll leave you with this. A few weeks ago, we saw what happened in the attacks with our police officers and law enforcement. And immediately we said, we got to do something for ours. We love our law enforcement officers, right? Let's give them a hand, the ones that are here or not. We appreciate what you do and putting your life in the line for us to keep us safe. So we said, you know what, let's invite him for free, no strings attached. And in the first 9 days of August, we hosted 400 officers, EMTs, and firemen in our facility. So if you know somebody, if you're watching by TV, no strings attached, no coupons, just come over, show us your ID, and enjoy the day at the park. Just a way for us to say thank you for keeping us safe. And in the month of September, we're gonna do the same thing for our military, to make sure that they understand that we love them and appreciate it. So I just close with this. We love what we do. We love serving our community. We love the partnership. You guys do a fantastic job. And thank you for the opportunity to make my life more rewarding than just running a park. Thank you.
Okay. On behalf of Brevard Schools Foundation Board of Directors, we again say thank you. And Dr. Blackburn and Chairman Ziegler, would you please join us for a picture? Thank you again to Andretti.
Okay, before Eddie runs away, I got to tell you, Eddie calls me every couple of months, and he says the same thing every couple of months. It's, Andy, we're not giving you enough. We need to find a way to generate more. So finally, a couple of weeks ago, he called me up, and he goes, I got it. I got the solution. And the solution is going to be that these cards are going to be unique per school, so that now we know how much volume is being done per school, and so $1 is going to go to the foundation, $1 to the school. But Eddie assures me this is going to double the volume, so the foundation's still going to get the same amount of money, and the schools are going to get more money. And Eddie, you're awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, good. All right. Did I say that? We are now at public comments. The maximum allotted time for each speaker is 3 minutes. And could I get somebody from, Lewis, could you bring the podium up, please? Clarification of information presented and answers to questions specific to district business educational matters will be posted on the school board's website under a section called For the Record. Please be reminded that profane, abusive, or slanderous speech is definitely not permitted. I request that you speak into the microphone, state your name. And we will start with Dan Bennett, followed by Anthony Colucci. It's a doubleheader. And I don't see our third speaker, Richard Charbonneau, and I don't see our fourth speaker, Reverend Dames. Oh, darn. Should have Reverend Dames at the beginning of the meeting. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, members of the board, and good evening,
Can
Dr.
security
Blackburn.
back this guy up just a little?
I have for you 2 facts and an opinion, which is my title. I'm trying to think of 2 facts and an opinion. These are good facts, which is an opinion in itself, but these are good facts. First of all, yes, there was a dust-up at bargaining. We got a hold of all of you, including Dr. Blackburn, but I want to talk about the power of collaboration. Soon after that, Dr. Blackburn, you and I had a conversation. I had a conversation with some of you, some senior staff. They didn't know to close their door fast enough, and I ended up in their office, and we actually worked out a solution. Now, it's temporary. It's not full solution going to work forever, or at least something about it should be written somewhere or understood, or we established that we've started a practice here. But the issue came about with women that have babies, and they're out for a period of time during their evaluation, and they need extended medical leave, or they've missed their evaluation period, so they need job security. And Florida law makes that very difficult. We could negotiate some things at the table, which we haven't done yet. We were in discussion. That's where the dust-up came from. But we've reached a stopgap solution. So thank you for the collaboration. Thank you for all of you that were rooting on a solution. And thank you to some folks from senior staff made that happen. The second positive fact is that I've noticed through the years more calls about an erosion of handling referrals and discipline matters. So again, I wandered into your office, didn't know to lock the door. I've talked to some other, you put me in touch with some other folks, senior staff, very good collaborative talks. We all put aside our positions and our defenses, and we had good conversation. And from what I understand, we're starting the year with a semblance of a plan in place. I was calling it protocols. Other people are calling non-negotiables, but I think we're off to a good start, and it's the power of working together. Then an opinion. I know you all, that's a fact. I talk to you all the time, okay? There's parents that want to address you all that don't know you, and the opinion is that this is goofy. This is about intimidation right here. You have a perfectly fine podium over here. Maybe we're just testing it, maybe we're test marketing it. I'm giving you some feedback. I don't see the purpose of this, but I'm just letting you know how it's going to be perceived. All right, thank you all.
Thank you. And I'll answer that question. Is speakers are addressing the board when they're at an angle, they seem to be playing to the crowd. All the other councils and commissions, they all address the council they're speaking to, and so that's what that is. Go ahead, sir. We've got all night for you.
You know I want to play to the crowd, so I'll find a way. My name is Anthony Colucci, and I'm proud to be the new Vice President of the Brevard Federation of Teachers. I often think how surprised my teachers would be if they saw me now. My teachers would be surprised that the class clown became a serious advocate for public education. They'd be surprised that a child who had the comment easily distracted on a host of report cards is a highly focused adult. My teachers would be surprised to know that a student, according to my mom's records, which she still has, earned no less than 17 disciplinary referrals in high school, would be a well-respected leader in the community. They would be surprised that the child who was chided countless times for unnecessary talking in class found a way to channel his words. But there is something I really want to talk to you about tonight that should be no surprise. It should be no surprise that your teachers who are on a pay-for-performance contract expect to be paid for their performance. They performed, and their contract says they'll be compensated for that. I'm appalled by the way you budget for teachers' raises, seeing what crumbs are left over after everything else is taken into account. Crumbs are for mice and rats. The Brevard Federation of Teachers is no mouse, and our 5,000 honorable teachers are certainly not rats. You must immediately find a way to fund raises for our teachers this year, a raise that dignifies their performance, and let's be clear, the $1 a day you offered at the bargaining table, that's not being honorable. If people, process, and performance is really going to be the norm in this district, you must stop budgeting for teachers' raises based on the crumbs that are left over, but budget for them with fidelity by realizing it's your obligation to fund them adequately every year. Thank you.
Thank you. One last shout out for Richard Charbonneau or Reverend Dames. Not seeing them here. That's the end of public comments. The board wishes to thank this evening's speakers. Your willingness to speak to the board is appreciated. That moves us to the consent agenda. Dr. Blackburn.
There are 15 agenda items under this category, 3 with prior information.
Does any board member wish to pull any of the consent items? No. In that case, I'll entertain a motion to accept consent.
Move to approve?
Second.
Nisi move, Henderson second. Any discussion? Not hearing any, please vote. Technical difficulties again. Got it? We'll be patient. We seem to have a lot of time tonight. There he is. 5-0. Okay. Anybody need a break? Wing through this? Okay. That'll move us to the action agenda. Dr. Blackburn.
There are 2 items for your consideration. First is item G23, which is purchasing solicitations.
What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve?
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Nisi, second by Mr. Craig. Any discussion? Not hearing any. Please vote. Passes 5-0.
Next is item G24, which is department school-initiated agreements.
What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve again.
Second.
All right, welcome to the party, Mrs. Belford. First by Mrs. Nisi, second by Mrs. Belford. Any discussion? Let's vote. Passes 5-0. Oh, flying right along. All right, we'll move on to the information agenda, which includes items for board review and will be brought back for action at a subsequent meeting. No action will be taken on these items tonight. Dr. Blackburn.
Mr. Ziegler and members of the board, there are 2 items under the information category.
Does any board member wish to discuss anything on the information agenda? No? Okay. All right, Dr. Blackburn, staff report.
Major Linda Moros, Head of School and District Security, along with Chief Operating Officer Dr. Mark Mullins, will be providing the board and the public with an update on our emergency shelter plans in case of a hurricane, which isn't going to happen, by the way, but...
Don't jinx it.
My plan is no hurricane.
High salt
I like that
content,
plan.
goes up north, it settles. We're all good right now.
Good evening, Board. Major Moros and I wanted to come to you and bring you an update on the work that's being done a bit behind the scenes to prepare us as a district as well as prepare our building level administrators in the event, hopefully unlikely as we hope it is, that we need to respond to opening shelters. As you know, Florida State statute requires the school board the responsibility to fully support the Brevard County Office of Emergency Management and provide shelter and transportation to members of our community that may require such services. And I'd also like to remind the board that Major Moros will keep me in check that we don't provide more information than we should as an agency that hosts shelters because that information is protected under Florida State Statute 119. But to give you an overview, we've been working closely with the Emergency Management Office, who ultimately has the sole authority to open as well as close community shelters. Dr. Blackburn, Major Moros, myself, Mr. Theodore receive regular EOC notifications and updates, as well as we participated in the policy group meeting over the summer that led to some of the preparations that we have. And those preparations included Major Moros and I have worked closely on updating the shelter plan, and it was a little bit of a new challenge this year because we had to address all of the reorganization impacts, but those have all been changed and accurately reflected. And more importantly, roles and responsibilities have been re-identified and redefined for individuals and serving in new roles and capacities. We met with administrators on July 18th in our organization or operations meeting and provided them an update, as well as on July 26th, we met with principals of shelters and provided additional planning and input. All of our administrators have access to an intranet tool that includes our emergency shelter plan, the personnel assignments, shelter maps, as well as forms and documents that are provided formally by the Red Cross. And all school-based administrators are assigned shelter responsibilities either to open and serve during a shelter and another team to come in and help close shelters, as well as a list of reserve administrators. This is, we can provide you some information here and follow up as well, but every school that is open for use as a shelter will be staffed with not only BPS administrators, but Major Moros works certainly with our community agencies to provide representatives at our shelters as needed and based on capacity, because we have varying capacities of our shelters across the district. A timeline, of course, the emergency shelter plan includes implementation stages for in the event that a shelter is required based on an impending tropical storm, hurricane, or other disaster. It is a multi-stage implementation across multiple departments with various responsibilities across the organization. And of course, those are all defined in the shelter plan based on the different stages of implementation. As you can imagine, Superintendent's Cabinet have primary responsibilities in the event that shelters are required. Dr. Blackburn, Major Moros, Michelle Irwin, Kevin Thornton, Mark Langdorf are assigned to the EOC in the event of a storm or opening shelters, and they provide direct communication to the BPS Shelter Command Center, where the remaining Superintendent's Cabinet members are housed, as well as other school board employees that provide support services to our shelters across the entire district. So we depend on, admittedly, cell phone and regular landlines in the event that we have them available to us. But leading up to shelters, we depend on our public announcement process, as well as district email and communicating with our own BPS employees and staff, as well as Major Moros and her department have recently serviced and maintained all of our 800 megahertz radios. They're two-way radios that communicate directly with law enforcement. We have them in every one of our schools. Every one of our district cabinet members, staff, have a 800 megahertz radio, so we depend on that in the event that we lose cell phone and or landline communications. And of course, as always, safety of our students, employees, and our families is our #1 priority, #1 concern, even in the midst of a community crisis and challenge. And of course, we are proud to support our community and work in partnership with emergency management staff to ensure safe sheltering when needed. And I do want to do a huge shout out to Major Moros. She has just been invaluable in the process of partnering BPS and emergency management, and certainly the Brevard County Sheriff's Office, to ensure that we are well prepared and ready to go in the event that we're called on by our community. Any questions?
Nope, I think we're good to go. Excellent. Yes, sir.
So I appreciate, thank you both very much for putting it together. I'm not going to ask you any questions specific to it. As you know, I live in the EM world, and so to me, prior preparation is critical. I know you all have been running scenarios, and you've done tabletop exercises, and that's awesome. And that's really what I wanted to make sure that the board is comfortable with, understanding that the plans are in place, that everybody knows where they're supposed to go, who they're supposed to call, and sheltering is one part of it, but there's a whole other business side of it as well, and that's what we, affectionately call a COOP, or continuity of operations, excuse me. And that is critical to understanding how this district continues to function, because things still have to happen. It doesn't, the bills still need to be paid, people still need to be paid. It doesn't, a storm doesn't matter, or a disaster doesn't matter when it comes time for that. So knowing that we have the plans in place, and that the superintendent is aware of what his role is and where he needs to be and how he's going to communicate to the board, because these 5 people here are probably the first people that will get phone calls from our constituents, and rightfully so, asking what's going to happen, and where do I go and what do I do? And so having that knowledge base is critical to us. So I thank you very much for putting the presentation together and for keeping us updated and for updating the names and all the extensions and all that type of stuff, very, very key. So thank you.
Okay, that brings us to board member reports and discussion points. In addition to discussion points, I request board members please include any information requests to be placed on board assigned tasks during this time. Any board members have any reports? Mrs. Henderson, you look like, it sounds like Mrs. Nisi's going to be short.
Dr. Blackburn, this is just a question I'd like to have answered in the next couple of weeks. We have a number of new principals. The whole domino effect has happened over the summer. I've had some parents report to me in different places in the county of registration's been different at some of the schools than it has been at the past. In some schools, the packets were sent home at the end of the year, which is what they've been used to, and then they were able to return them at the start of school, and registration in the past few days went very fast. I've had a couple parents tell me they weren't able to do that, and they had to fill out everything when they showed up, that nothing was sent home, and it was very tedious, which we tried to get away from. So my question is, did something change? I thought we were trying to make it as quick and painless as possible. So I guess I'm just trying to find out, how did registration go? Are we still trying to make it as quick and painless as possible? The 1 or 2 schools, did we only have 1 or 2 schools that didn't do that? I'm just trying to get a read on that, what happened with registration.
So, my quick answer is yes, we're continuing to improve process to make it painless for parents, but I'll certainly come back to you with an update on what, if any, major changes happened or why they took place.
Okay, because my issue, at least from a parent's perspective, if you have to go and fill them all out at the one time, you don't read them then. That was why we tried to get to the point where they got sent home at the end of the school year, or they could download them online, because we actually do hope that they read them, read what they're signing, as opposed to going in, quickly signing, and then not paying attention to them. So my hopes were that all the schools sent them home like they had in the past at the end of the school year. Parents brought them back in the fall. But I know of at least one school that didn't happen, and I hope there weren't others.
Mrs. Henderson.
Well, I'll just give a quick shout out to Vera High School on that one, because they do their registration paperwork in the spring. We fill it all out and send it all back. We get all of our information. We get an opportunity to do that. When I went to the school at 8 o'clock in the morning, the line was from the cafeteria past the front office almost to the gym, so almost the length of the high school. We were out of there in 15 minutes. So, it can be done. I wanted to talk to the board tonight about your recent email, and then there was one a couple of weeks ago from FSBA on the legislative priorities. I also wanted to know how you wanted to go about this. I know that Michelle had said something about getting together for priorities. They have a list of priorities. There's like 3 or 4 of them that they want to know, do you want to keep them or you want to get rid of? Those are the ones that we as a committee had gone through and kind of weeded out what we didn't think applied anymore. And so that is out there on their website. I don't know if you want me to do it and send it out to you guys. Or you want to look at it again. There are places, we can also put in new items that we wanted to add. For example, if we wanted to put in something that we might like to have legislation that they would actually pay fully for the mandate for, let's say, busing or transportation, whatever priorities we feel. So I think that we need to get moving on that. We need to have it done by September 9th. So I will gather everybody's information if you'd like to direct it my way. I'll be glad to take it, put it all together and give it back to everybody, and then maybe we can talk about it at the next board meeting. Or
I'm good with that, if you're all okay with that. Go ahead.
I think that's a great idea. You've done a great job with kind of compiling all those thoughts in the past and staying on top of it. The only thing that I would add is perhaps request some input from staff as well on things that they're aware of that maybe we need to be focusing on, so they have an opportunity to weigh on you know, some of the intricacies that we may not be as aware of that may have a huge impact going forward.
Absolutely, and I've done that in the past. The other thing is that there is some information out there from FSBA on the ESSA. And so while we're going through doing this, I will take the time and talk to senior staff about what FSBA says about it, so that make sure that we're all on the same page. If we have the superintendents, the School Board Association, and FOIL all working for the same goals as a state, we can make headway. If we're all doing our own separate thing, it's not going to work.
On that issue of ESSA, in one of the previous emails from FSBA, they had referenced the fact that they are sending a letter to Pam Stewart requesting quality discussion around where we need to go with ESSA. I don't know, I think FADS was on the same track, and I'm wondering if we as a board would like to also weigh in just supporting the FADS and the FSBA statement on that with an official letter to Pam Stewart requesting that officially.
That's actually a good idea, because if they're doing it and we're doing it, and they're doing it, we're all doing it.
Better to be aligned. Absolutely.
On that note, a virtual request or suggestion box, basically what the DOE did, requiring community members to read hundreds and hundreds of pages in order to provide input on that online suggestion box was just not adequate community engagement, which the legislation calls for. So the superintendents will be meeting in September, and we're starting the year out just not very happy with that level of community engagement. It's very difficult over the summer.
Just to keep you all in the loop, when we were at FSBA when we were there, June, June, December sometime, Ms. Henderson has been a representative on the legislative committee for FSBA. I signed up to be a representative on the advocacy committee. We have an upcoming web conference to pull that advocacy committee together to talk about how we can create actionable items moving forward, I guess would be the best way to look at it. And it looks like that there may be an advocacy committee meeting in September at the September meeting. So I'll update you all after that discussion as to where we're going on the advocacy piece.
Okay. Mr. Craig? Oh, are you done? Sorry.
I know that the superintendent's report is next, but I was just wondering, are we going to get any, I talked to Dr. Mullins earlier about information from the 2 meetings on the bus information.
Yes, we'll get to that.
Let's see. Oh. Well, good. We'll talk about the busing. I know Dr. Mullins has put together that Tiger team. I appreciate it. I forgot to mention Mr. Theodore and his team and facilities. I stopped by Tropical and Jefferson today, both schools that underwent massive upgrades and construction, and both principals could not say enough about your team and about the work that's being done there and how quickly it came together. Even as 4 or 5 days ago, it didn't look like it was going to. So thank you. Please pass to your team that their commitment and what they've done is greatly appreciated by the teachers, the administrators, but the community as well. And the schools look great. The fencing looks awesome, all those things. And also, Arby, I'm sorry, we didn't mention, but you know, transportation is vital. You know, it's the only way most of our kids get to school. And as I said last year, most of the time, the first face they see is the school bus driver. And that is the first impression that this district has. So I want to please, Arby, pass to your drivers tomorrow and throughout the team our appreciation for what they do, their professionalism, their compassion for the kids that join, get on their buses, and the commitment that they have to keeping those kids safe and working through traffic and all the issues that surround transportation through here. So thank you very much for all that. Just to piggyback a little bit on what Ms. Henderson brought up, and it's really for all of us as a board, I'm concerned. I'm concerned that we have not addressed topics the way that we should have. Since last November, we have had one workshop on one issue. We have not addressed multiple things that have been brought up by board members, like legislative priorities, budget priorities, legal issues, school debt forgiveness. I think there's a BFT workshop that we're supposed to have by contract. None of those things have happened, and we don't have a schedule. There's 5 board meetings left till November, and I don't think that's going to happen. So according to our policy, we, as it's up to the chair to call those. In lieu of that, though, we, as a majority of board members, can ask for those. So I encourage each of us to send a email copying everybody with your priorities for a workshop that needs to be held in the next few weeks. We have to start working on these things. You brought up legislative. We should have been working on this some time ago. And so I encourage each of you to do that. Let's get it out there so that we can start scheduling them ourselves and making sure that we address each of these things. And I think that was it. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mrs. Henderson.
I just want to tag team on your bus drivers and what you said about the bus drivers, because they do an awesome job. But I must tell you that a lot of the bus drivers were there yesterday when we were doing the backpack stuff at Harbor City. And the one thing that comes out of their mouth more than anything else is how much they absolutely love their job. And, you know, to me, it's a hard job. I've been on the buses for field trips. I'm not sure how you could love that, but God bless them. They actually love what they're doing. And when you love what you're doing, you do such a better job for our students. And I think that's why they see that smiling face first thing in the morning. It's so helpful to our kids in getting them off to a good start.
Okay, the only thing I have, which I think has already been answered, but we'll clarify, is our FSBA dues are up for renewal. But since we've been talking about all our participation in the FSBA, it seems pretty clear that renewing our membership is at hand, but I want to make sure no board members have any objections to renewing our membership. Okay, hearing none, then we will continue with the FSBA. And that's all I have. So Dr. Blackburn, you have a superintendent's report tonight.
I do. Before I go there, I want to say I know Dr. Mullins and staff are working on a workshop calendar. We'll be working through the chair on dates and also topics, so that is in play, and we should have sort of resolution on the calendar really, really soon. And before I get into an update, I would like to talk about the transportation matter that was discussed at our last board meeting. You're right, Mr. Craig. Dr. Mullins did put together the Tiger team. They met with at least one representative of the community to kind of brainstorm what, if any, now short-term, long-term considerations or solutions that we can have. So I want to give some updates / a recommendation. So in the now term, all of those choice schools have been contacted, and there is a carpooling effort going on at every one of those schools. So if a parent calls the principal, either through the school or through the school PTA, PTO, there is a carpooling option at all of those schools, and staff has confirmed that that's available. We also share that there are SCAT stops near all of our secondary schools, and we've shared that information. There's a V-Ride opportunity available for many of those schools. And last but not least, Arby has been out there collecting names of other vendors that may be able to provide a solution to parents. And as he learns that information, they get together and they share it out with the community as well. Those are sort of the now short-term options. There are, last time the team got together, they brainstormed on approximately eight long-term possibilities with varying levels of possibility, costs, and benefits, okay? I'll give you a couple of extremes. One extreme is restoration of corridor busing as we knew it, which is a several million-dollar opportunity. Another sort of extreme, but it came out through our brainstorming, is that at a much lower cost, there's an opportunity to discuss changing start-end times to schools, which would allow a fourth tier of transportation, and the additional cost to restore that transportation would be significantly lower. You're talking essentially wear and tear, tires, fuel, et cetera, but not the several million-dollar option that I mentioned earlier. And then there are several pieces in between, none of which the team and I feel can start, obviously, tomorrow, August 10. We would like to ask that we continue to reinforce those now opportunities I mentioned earlier. As the board knows, in our strategic plan, adding opportunity and access to programs is a priority, with a timeline to hopefully have some option, not hopefully, but an expectation that there are options for school year 17-18. So I'd like to ask that the team be allowed to kind of revert back to that strategic plan and that timeline in an attempt to go ahead and get school up and running and do some other beginning of the year activities, but wanted to bring those 4 now opportunities to the board for discussion.
Could we get the details of those 4 now opportunities sent to us? Because I think we all are hearing from constituents who have concerns. And it would be great if I could copy and paste an email that says we're working on it. Here are the options I can make available at this point in time, as we continue to look for other options down the road. That would be a huge help to me.
That's yes. Why don't we website, social media, do all that stuff as well?
Any other comments or input from the board?
That information would be great on the website, so that parents would, or each of the schools' websites, and make sure that they're contacting their parents with that stuff as well.
Agreed.
I understood that there was only a couple hundred, maybe 300 students that were using the School Wheels Direct. Is that correct?
Correct, a couple hundred students.
And do we have any numbers on children that are not going back?
So in the immediate days right after the announcement was made, I think that number was at 0 students that have elected not to go back because of the transportation. Since then, I'm looking at RB, I'm looking at Stephanie, Dr. Mullins. Do we have an idea of how many students have elected not to go back because of transportation? I'll repeat, not even a handful, I was just told.
And while you're digging through information and getting information to us, or as you are going through your strategic plan stuff, it has been mentioned many times that the demographics of the school has changed, or has the potential to change because we don't have transportation. So I would like to go back in history and give us the demographics of the schools prior to the last few years and where we are today.
Interestingly enough, I requested that information a few months back, and what the data I received showed was that diversity at those schools has actually increased since we stopped corridor busing.
And they need to send that out. Well, and that's why we need that data, because we're getting from some people, this is what's going to happen. You're telling me the reality is actually different. So we just need to have that information available and show that we know what it is, because history is going to, that kind of history is actually going to help us make a decision on what you're going to bring forward.
Anyone else? Dr. Blackburn, is that anything else you wanted to report on?
Yes, sir. A few more updates. Are we good with the transportation conversation? Okay, great, great. I'll start with this weekend. Highlight of my weekend will be my wife and I joining the Space Coast Gator Club. The alumni of the University of Florida will be having a picnic. Give it up, give it up. We'll have a picnic at Wickham Park Saturday afternoon to send off all of the Brevard graduates who are going to the University of Florida. The Space Coast Gator Club will be doing that, so looking forward to that. Go Gators, go Gators. And I've enjoyed using our brand new mobile app that we have, and I've been hearing a lot of good feedback about that. So if you haven't gone to iTunes or Google Play and downloaded our new BPS mobile app, please do that. Tomorrow is the first day of school, so make sure you get a good night's sleep, you eat your Wheaties, and get to school on time. Mrs. Nisi and I will start pretty early in the morning, so we'll try to get out of here, and we'll ride the bus to Sea Park Elementary, and then we'll go to Holland, and then I'll part ways, and I'll head out to Bayside, Johnson Middle, Saturn, and Astronaut High throughout the day. And we've already contacted those schools, and they know that they are to do absolutely nothing because we're coming. Just take care of kids and parents and things like that. We just want to spread the cheer and support them on day one, right? And ride the bus. You mentioned Mr. Ziegler. Today I attended the first annual Innovation in Transportation Summit for Adult Education this afternoon over at Clear Lake. This was an outstanding event which started as an idea to discuss innovation in Brevard County and has turned into a state conference. So when Mr. Arnott titled this the first annual Innovation in Transportation Summit, there is very clear expectation that we see this again and again and again. So it was a great event, and thank you, Mr. Ziegler, for being there. A couple of highlights, which the board I know already knows about, but on July 26th, the Student Services Division held a leadership symposium. The day was filled with a multitude of breakout sessions aligned to their strategic plan objective to provide equitable support around social-emotional development for children. They also followed that up on August 1st with a kickoff symposium to discuss discipline training. And we heard Dan Bennett talk about some of the short-term collaborative efforts we've put in place for discipline and continuing to maintain our commitment to creating a district-wide discipline plan for our system. You've already took some of my thunder away, but I agree with what's happened in our schools. Over a quarter of our schools this summer had major facility renovations. I walked through one school with Mr. Theodore earlier this summer, and it looked like everything had been moved, a complete construction zone, and we're ready to go for tomorrow. So hats off to the entire team. Good news from a financial standpoint, budget cost accounting and FTE successfully appealed a finding from the 2013-2014 FTE audit and recovered 20 FTE for Brevard Public Schools. An adjustment for the additional funding will be received with a third calculation. And accounting services successfully increased e-payables rebate by approximately $190,000 by initiating payments for utility services by credit card through e-payables. Innovation, equity, and choice. We're entering our fourth year of a no-cost extension to the Magnet Schools Assistant Program. Great news there. Technology renovations. Rockledge High School has completed all construction for technology infrastructure renewal, currently under CRI review audit for projects over $1 million. Atlantis Elementary School, technology infrastructure renewal construction began on July 2016, and we anticipate that work completing during or by the winter break. And Melbourne High School, Longleaf Elementary, Meadow Lane Primary infrastructure renewal designs are nearing completion. Board presentations and updates will be staggered over the next quarter as we progress on each one of those. There's a project is to install wireless access point cabling for every classroom. Currently, 60% of our schools are outfitted with support cabling, and E-rate discount equipment application is made for access points in every classroom if approved in the early winter. There will be 35 application servers were replaced to support district security storage initiatives. And last but not least, from a technology standpoint, we've been trying to make some additions to our e-agenda, right? We discussed earlier wanting to have deliberate conversation around cost of any item and around legal review of any item. We've been challenged with our current e-agenda company to make some of those changes. So the team is putting together a plan to go out to the market and see if we can get a different e-agenda solution. We'll absolutely be partnering with the board because you use it primarily. But just want to let you know what's in our minds right now as far as, and I know our often, let's do a voice vote at the last minute is getting kind of old. So the team is looking for a new e-agenda solution. That's my update.
Okay, very good. Anybody else have anything they'd like to bring up in the last minute? All right, being the case, this meeting is adjourned.